Hey, this is Meredith Elliott, Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 9 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, and time once again for a Sales Logic. I'm hanging out here with Mark Hunter. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great. It's Saturday morning. Sun's up. Hey, of course, it's always up here in Dallas, Texas, like it is there for you. We got a great show planned, right?
Yeah, you had a busy week?
Busy week. Was in Greenville, South Carolina, kind of your neck of the woods, and then Vegas to end out the week. How about you?
Nice. I was kind of all over the place this week. A lot going on, a lot of travel. I just came back. I got home 1:30 this morning from Raleigh, North Carolina. I went down to celebrate installation of officers for National Speakers Association Carolinas chapter.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I think you saw our good friend Matthew Pollard, right?
Yeah, so I had lunch with Matthew Pollard. I saw Chuck too, and talked about you and your video series.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey, let's roll the video and go, shall we?
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic. Again, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss everything that you need to know to sell more effectively. And Mark, we got a big show today. So I'm going to quickly tell the audience how the show works. Every week we open up with a question from you, the audience. It's probably our favorite part of the show because you get to be a part of it. So anytime you have a question, just go to saleslogicpodcast.com. We got a hot topic, we recommend a book, and we send you away with a lightning round. So Mark, what is on tap for today?
Well, the topic, very appropriate for right now, how to inflation-proof your sales pipeline. So that's the topic. We'll get into that. But first, let's run over to Europe and Athens, Greece. And Katerina, she asked the question, we have barely recovered from COVID and now rising prices, supply chain issues, continuing and rising interest rates. Geez, sounds like right here, right? How do I prepare for the shifts coming in the marketplace? How do I make sure as the market tightens, I can still meet my goals and earn my bonus and commissions?
Yeah. What a great question to be asking, Katerina. I mean, good question to be asking now. Mark, I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, but I caught a little this morning. I record a couple of financial shows, and the forecasting is looking a little rough. Like the future is going to be a bit challenging. So again, Katerina, good that you're looking at it now and making a plan for it. I would say the place where you need to start, probably the foundation, is let's do a little inventory of the pipeline. Let's look at the customers you've got, the business that you have on the table, the business that's in the pipeline, and let's get a plan and let's get a strategy, because the two things you are going to need to be to make it through an inflation or a downturn in the economy is, number one, you're going to need to be highly focused. We cannot waste precious time and resources. The second is you're going to need to be even more active than you've been.
Yeah. Now I'm going to challenge you a little bit on that, because here's, and I love challenging you on this, because again, here's the situation. As the economy slows, it doesn't affect every industry evenly. And just as we saw during COVID, it affected the hospitality industry first, and then it kind of moved out from there. What you have to understand is look at where your business is coming in. Go right back to what you said, Meredith, hyper focused, but also realize that how is the industry you're playing in, or industries you're playing in, how do you expect them to respond in an economic difficult period? Because it may be one of the things that, okay, you need to focus a little more effort right now in a different industry that may not be as impacted by any kind of slowdown. Do I think we're going to get to the R word here in the US? No, I think Europe will incur that R word. I don't say it. I don't like to say it. I don't think we will. I think we'll teeter on it. And I think segments of the economy will remain strong. You got to make sure you're just dancing in them.
Yeah, so Mark and I differ on that because I do think we're headed for the R word eventually. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's kind of like with a business. I mean, you should be preparing your business to be sold all the time, whether you're going to sell it or not. You should be preparing for dips in the economy with your sales pipeline, whether they ever occur. Whether they ever occur or not. So I think Mark's advice is great. Absolutely. Look at the industry and look across and see which ones are going to be impacted, and they'll be impacted differently. They'll not only be impacted differently, they'll be impacted at different times. But here's one place where I differ from Mark. I don't so much change who I'm calling on. I watch the market to decide how I am going to help my existing customers through the downturn. I don't want to walk away from them. I want to be the resource that is saying, this is how you are going to get through the market. Really cannot emphasize enough. Do not pull back right now. This is your time to jump in with both feet. I think that customers need you in a good economy. They can't live without you in a struggling economy.
See, I like what you're saying. I agree with you now, because right now more than ever, this is the time that you help your customers, because you're in this situation together. So you've got to help them drive forward. And this is the whole thing that I look at. And again, I'm the eternal optimist. That's why I don't think we're going to incur the R word. But I look at times like this. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit shaky. This is the time when we really, really up our game even more. And by upping our game, what do we find out what works and what doesn't work? Because there may be some elements of our sales process, there may be some elements of the portfolio of products we sell that we really shouldn't be spending time on or really investing in. We've got to cut those loose. We always come out of difficult periods as more effective salespeople and business people. And again, this is one of those times that I think, you know what, I'm kind of can I say I'm looking forward to it? That's scary. But it allows us to challenge. And as you said, salespeople are needed now more than ever.
Yeah, I would take a really good stock of what you're doing. Get really focused on your sales process and really question what is working in it and what isn't working in it, and do that consistently. Because here's the challenge of dare I say it, a downturning economy or a challenging economy, is that you don't have as much margin to lose. You need to watch expenses. You need to make sure that what you're doing is productive, and there just isn't as much fat to play with. And so you need to question what you're doing. So I think a good place to start, I want to back you up, and I really want to help you have a strategy for this. Number one, take really good inventory. Really look at your pipeline and ask yourself, am I fooling around with C and D players? If you are, question whether you should be. Get more A's and B's focused in there. Double down to retain the customers that you have. Mark's giving you great advice to look across other industries. Maybe if you're focused all in, the mortgage industry or the construction industry, that's an industry that gets hit first. So understand the domino effect of the economy. Every industry is probably going to eventually get hit, but they get hit in different ways. Look to see where the government is going to flow money, because every time we hit a downturning economy, governments step in to help. So you want to make sure that you're maybe in those markets where guaranteed money is going to flow.
So that means you should just pick up the phone and call Jerome Powell, right?
Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
And then call Janet Yellen and just say, okay, what's lately? Here's something that I find in weird times that we're entering into. Partnerships become more critical than ever, because again, you got to get those sound bites of information, just as what Meridith was talking, just what you were talking about, Meredith. I love that. You really got to double down on the information. You got to double down on the insights. And you do that by, who can I be partnering with? Who can I be talking to? Because now more than ever, remember, just as you're dealing with this, supply chain issues, inflationary periods, so too are your customers. So you got to sit there and say, do I bring to them doom and gloom, or do I bring to them ideas and solutions? now more than ever, it is absolutely ideas and solutions. And here's the other thing. And again, Mary, you were talking about, well, your time. Your time is more important than ever right now. But what I'll argue is this. You really need to be reaching out more than ever right now, because we are moving into nanoseconds in terms of how things are moving. And your customers, your prospects, they've got to see you, they've got to hear from you far more often than ever before because of supply chain issues, because of inflation. All decision making is moving at a much faster rate, and you better be prepared, and you better make sure that you're in front of your customers.
Yeah, I would add to the fact that you need to start educating yourself about, the marketplace. If you're not somebody who watches the shows, who reads the paper, but you need to know what's going on with the economy, what the experts are predicting, how they are different. The truth is, nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows if Mark's right and the R word isn't going to happen, or I'm right and the R word is going to happen. Nobody has any idea. But the truth is, you want to be educated on it so that when you are in front of a customer, you are coming from a place of confidence and a place of guidance.
Yeah. Hey, we should probably kind of drift over and start talking about the topic, because again, a great question, and we've been kind of dealing with the topic. How to inflation proof your sales pipeline? And I'll start off is you got to look at your pricing, because I'll tell you what. If you're going to take a price increase, be aggressive with your price increase, because the last thing you want to do is come in and increase your prices and then turn around and a month from now increase them again. Be aggressive with and I know this upsets a lot of people, but I have found time and time again that is the easiest way to get ahead of the curve, because you don't always know what's going to happen to your back end COGS, your cost of goods sold.
Yeah, I think the very first thing that you need to do to recession-proof your pipeline is that you need to go back and talk to your customers, and you need to get clear on what the shifts in the economy are going to mean for their business. Because if you want to sell and you want to grow in the middle of a marketplace, in the middle of a shifting marketplace, it's about solving the right problem. People are always going to spend money. Consumer demand may go down a bit, but they're always going to spend money. But they spend money, I think, more selectively on what they believe is the problem they have now. So I think that's really where you need to start, is you need to say, how are the shifts in the marketplace impacting my customer? I mean, I was thinking the other day, I'm working a lot in the manufacturing and the construction space right now, and their margins are really rising because they ship everything they do. And $5 and $6 gas prices are really impacting their bottom line and their profit. So I need to shift my message to help them understand how to make that skinnier margin work.
Yeah, but now don't think that people are not going to spend. I'll give you an example. I was just at a trade show in Vegas talking to a company that elected not to participate in a trade show because they said the trade show booth was going to be $20,000. But instead, they invested $20,000 into a party. See, so the trade show operator could say, "Oh, wow, these are difficult times." No, this company just chose to spend their money on a party, and they spent the same amount of money. And it was interesting. I was talking with the VP of sales and the COO of the company the next day. He said, we got more value out of this $20,000 party than we would out of the trade show booth. So again, don't think people are not spending. People will spend. They're just going to look for what do they feel is the most judicious, appropriate, right tactic. That's what you got to help them find. That's what you got to help them do.
Yeah, I think John Register's got a great question here. How do you coach people past passivity and paralysis?
Oh, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing: you have to live it. You have to live it because, kids turn out a lot like their parents. So guess what? Salespeople turn out a lot like their managers. And if you are being passive, if you are dealing with paralysis, and this is why I don't like saying that's why I just say it's the R word. Because again, if you say it enough, in fact, I heard Jim Cramer, on CNBC said this week, the consumer is talking themselves into that R word. They're talking themselves into it. And you don't have to talk. It all depends on how you want to look at the opportunities out there. So that is number one of what I see. I'm sure you've got some ideas.
Yeah. So John, I think this is such a great question, because number one, you do have to coach people past it. Most people are tactical thinkers. They can't see past the pain point in front of them. They can't see past the good in front of them, and they can't see past the bad in front of them. So they're just not strategic or visionary. So you do need to coach them. The way that I coach people past passivity and paralysis is I focus them on actions and behaviors. The reason that people get stuck is because they don't know what to do. They want to take action. They just don't know what that action is. So as a coach, you can say, let's talk about all the things that you're worried about, all the anxiety that you have out there, because quite frankly, it's real. And where Mark and I differ is Mark is an optimist. I think of myself as more of a realist. I mean, how I function is I want to embrace the suck. I want to say, okay, things are kind of bad right now. That's cool. I can still make money, but I'm looking at exactly what's in front of me. I don't try to paint it bad or good. It just is. And so, but you separate it into, I love this exercise, and everybody ought to do this exercise, because you have moments where you're worried. If that phone doesn't ring for a couple of days, or you're not getting the deal to close, look, don't try to ignore your feelings. You're scared. So write down all the anxiety you're having. Then divide it into what you can control and what you can't control. And what you can control is behavior. What you can't control is result. I don't get to control when Mark buys. I don't get to control when Mark allows me to have a sales call, but I can control how many outbound calls I make. I can control improving my conversation. I can control sitting down with my coach, John, and talking about my pipeline, and John really helping me understand what's a good candidate and what isn't a good candidate. So you move people past passivity and paralysis by helping them focus on behavior.
See, that is so good. What I always say is, to get past paralysis, I drill it down and I take a smaller activity and I put it into repetitive motion. Because again, it's to create momentum. Momentum creates momentum. And okay, so I'm the optimist, you're the realist. I like to think that I'm the realist, but that's okay. That's okay. So
no, Mark, what we love about you in our mastermind is you always see the glass completely full.
Well, here's the reason, because no trend continues forever. People will sit there and say, I was in an Uber a couple months ago, and 25-year-old kid said, I'm going to get into real estate because if there's one thing that never changes, it's housing prices. It always keeps going up, going up, going up, going up. It's going to go up forever. I'd love to run into that Uber driver here in a couple months. It's the thing. And people, inflationary period, this is going to go on forever. No, it's not. It's not. No trend line is sustainable forever. And I always say, all I need to do is play the long game. Play the long game. Stay in the game long enough to see conditions change. And they will. And they will. And the key is to frame yourself up, because you got to stay in the game, because when it does begin to change, there's going to be early movers, and you want to be part of that group of early movers fast.
Yeah, John's asked us another great question here. I love the fact that you're writing case studies on solutions, getting your customers to write case studies so you understand the value you have in the industry. Mark, what are some other tips that one might use to understand their market value?
Well, this is the whole thing that you got to go upstream and downstream. We've talked on the show a lot about understand your customer's customer. Okay, that's great. But now let's understand upstream. How is our customers, how are they getting their materials, their goods, their people? What are all the factors? You basically have to do a SWOT analysis on your industry and a SWOT analysis on your individual customers. And then you do a separate SWOT analysis as to how you interact with your customers. But I found if you go through those three levels, it is amazing at how you begin to see, this is what I focus on. This is what I don't focus on. Because you brought up a good point. There are a lot of things we can't control. I tell people, do that exercise. Write down the things that you can't control. And when you get done, take that piece of paper and burn it. Burn it. Because you can't control it. There is, you and I are not going to change the price of oil tomorrow. because I don't think you and I have a connection to any of the critical factors, whether it be the Ukrainian situation, whatever it might be. So guess what? We just have to figure out a way. How do we navigate through it to be able to optimize it for ourselves and for our customers?
Yeah. John, I love this question because it's so important that we understand our market value. And that is one of the biggest ways that you're going to inflation proof your sales pipeline, is that, again, people will buy from you because you have value. And I think that understanding your value comes down to the fact that you need to help your customers understand you're going to help them two ways. You're going to help them emotionally, which is incredibly important, and you're going to help them from a results standpoint. So beyond the case studies, which I think are great that you're working up, to focus more on results that you add value, just get some short quips of people who tell you they doubled their sales revenue, or they only had 4 leaders in the pipeline for succession planning. Now, because they've worked with you, they have 6. So that raw short data, I like quick short data. Case studies are great, but people have to read a case study. Yeah. So I want the taglines, I want the pull out, I want, those types of things. The other is the stories. I worked with John. I really didn't understand how to navigate and lead my team through a marketplace like this. Working with John, I've really shifted my attitude that this could be the greatest opportunity. So you want that social proof and those stories, because that's the emotion you have on people. And then you want those data results, just those quick things. So decide when you're going to start working with a customer, what's the end goal? What do you want? What is the shift or change that you want to happen, and then measure that. But let them decide what they want the shift and the change to be.
And you bring up another good point, and that is you got to be careful who you're hanging out with. You've got to hang out with people who have a positive outlook. That's why you and I talk about our mastermind, because again, you hang out with successful people. It's amazing how it changes your thinking, and it moves you to the next level. Mark brings up a good point. The other Mark that is always listening. And this is where someone who has worked, managed, sold in both good times and bad becomes a trusted resource. It is. Once you've gone through kind of the different seasons of the economy a few times, you do take a little different perspective. And this is where we have a lot of people. This is where we saw, and we've seen this several different times, where the economy is good and salespeople become lazy. All they become is customer service people. And then they got to sell. And right now we're kind of getting into that point where, you know what? You got to sell. You got to understand your value. We had a great conversation. This is absolutely terrific this morning, but wow, time is slipping away.
It is going fast. I just wanted before we slip into the book, I want to circle back to John one more time, because I love the questions that he's put in here today, because for everybody listening, these are the things you need to be gathering now to position your business for success. Get those case studies in order, get those testimonials. Make sure that every time you do an engagement, one of your questions is, what exactly do you want to be different? What do we need to focus on? And then start to measure that. Mark and I have a good friend, Sherry Leviton, and she's done unbelievable in the online training world. And one of the reasons she has is right from the beginning, she went straight to the CEO and she said, what do you want to accomplish with this online learning? She tracked that with her online learning and feeds the result back to the CEO. Well, the CEO knows it's a good investment, so she renews Sherry's contract. That is so important and so powerful. All right, Mark, let's
Hey, the book, Snap Selling by Jill Conrath.
If you're such a good one.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Jill, she's written, I think, 5 books. And this one, Snap Selling, it's really about how you sell fast. Snap, just what it talks about. It's been out a few years. Pick it up, grab it. I can't recommend it enough. In fact, I recommend all of Jill's books, because once you start reading one, you're going to read the other one, the other one, the other one. So anyway, but Snap Selling, Jill Conrath. Hey, are you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Okay, lightning round. Top 10 things you need to do now to prepare for the market changing. you're on the clock. Go.
All right. Number one is you need to, and as I said at the beginning, you need to sit down, do some inventory, and make everybody earn their way back onto your pipeline.
Number two, understand your industry. Where is your industry going? Where is it coming from? How is it going to be impacted?
Number three, get out there and talk to your customers. Be more active than you've been in the past and listen to their stories and pay attention to where the pain points are changing.
Number four, picking up on that, increase the frequency of your contacts, and both also not only with existing customers, but with prospects.
Yeah, take a good look at where you spend your time. If you're going to trade shows, if you're going to networking events, question whether it's really worth your time and really worth your expense.
Become the industry expert. How do you become the industry expert? You hang out with industry experts. Now more than ever, knowledge is going to win the day.
Yeah. Gather the value points, a la John Register. Understand the difference in the value that you are making in the marketplace. Be ready with those case studies. Be ready with those stories, and be ready with those data points.
And an easy way to do that is by getting testimonials. Reach out to your customers, ask them, hey, how have you benefited from the work we've been able to provide you? Get those testimonials. And at the same time, be asking for referrals, because they're going to understand who are those people who are succeeding, who are those people who are struggling in that particular industry.
Yeah. Be the expert on the economy right now. Don't put your head in the sand and not be educated on it. When you go in to speak with clients, talk about what you're hearing happening in the marketplace, what you're hearing part of their industry. Be somebody that they believe is in the know and is on top of it.
Great. Hey, I'll share one more. You share one more. Hey, never forget this. Good days are always around the corner. Your attitude will drive you more than anything else right now to help you through any kind of difficult period.
Yeah, I would say go find some people who have ridden these waves a couple of times. There's something to be said for a group of 60, 70, and even 80-year-olds right now. They're quite calm in the middle of a storm, and they've had a lot of time in the saddle and ridden some pretty challenging times. There's a lot to be gained from their wisdom.
A great show this morning, but I'll tell you what, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We will see you right back here next week, 9:00 Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. Please remember, if you've got questions, don't hesitate to go to saleslogicpodcast.com. Just reach out to Mark and I, ask it, and we will feature you right here if you've got a topic you want us to discuss as well. Until then, take the ideas you've learned today, put them into action. You have been an amazing audience, as always, and we'll see you next week. Great selling.